Good afternoon, and welcome back to another MMA podcast. Today is August 30th, and last night was UFC Fight Night Smith versus Rakic. I'm going to get into the main event right away. On paper, this fight didn't jump out at me in the sense that Anthony Smith is a journeyman. He's fought at the top of the heap. Alexander Rakic is an exciting prospect, but neither really share like a big kind of main event type of name. That doesn't have any knock on their ability. Nevertheless, this was the main event that we were given for this weekend. So I wanted to get into what unfolded. Going into this fight, a lot of people had a ton of hype behind Alexander Rakic, and with good measure. If you look at his last fights, he's been finishing guys. He lost the decision to Volkan Ozdemir, but he's got KO power in his hands. He's an unbelievable striker and kickboxer. He's a young guy, is coming into his prime, shows a ton of promise, and he just signed a 6-fight deal, so we'll be seeing a lot more of him in the UFC in the future. Anthony Smith, just a consummate professional, dare I say journeyman. He wins one, he loses one, he wins one, he loses one. Now, granted, he's fighting top of the food chain fighters. Alexander Gustafsson, John Jones, Glover Teixeira, and so forth. Used to fight at middleweight in the mix there. So he was a very tough fight nonetheless. I thought the odds makers had Rakic as a huge favorite, and I thought they were sleeping on Anthony Smith a little bit in the sense that Anthony Smith is always a tough fight. He's gritty, he's extremely durable, and even though he's a slow starter, he genuinely starts to pick up the pace as fights carry on. I was a little bummed out that this was a 3-rounder and not a 5-rounder. I missed why that was. Somebody can fill me in out there, if anyone's even listening. But, in my mind, I thought if this is a 5-round fight, I kind of started to favor Anthony Smith because I wanted him to be able to test the durability of Alexander Rakic. I was wrong. Anyone who bet on Anthony Smith was wrong, and Alexander Rakic demonstrated that he is in the mix as a title contender. And his Rakic right off the bat, his striking looked superb. He was landing huge leg kicks. Anthony Smith, to his credit, landed a few of his own, but Rakic's distance and timing just looked a step ahead. Maybe on a little higher level with his kickboxing background and resume. So he looked really impressive there. Problem is, most of the fight didn't take place on the feet. I think Alexander Rakic was maybe trying to prove a point with his top control and his ground game to say, hey, I'm more than just a striker. I'm more than just a guy who's going to knock guys out. He wanted to maybe prove to people that he can hang on the ground. But in doing so, it was his downfall because he produced, unfortunately, an impressive win, but albeit in an unimpressive fashion. And I know, you guys can kind of say, well, Anthony Smith is just that good and he's fighting great guys. Yeah. But the issue I had with Rakic in this fight is when he had Anthony Smith hurt, he wanted to lay and pray, and he wasn't active enough. It wasn't like it was devastating top control, raining down blows, and he didn't look to pass. He didn't really look to get active for searching for a submission. He really just sat in his guard, and it kind of led to just a lackluster feel of, yes, he was being dominant, and I don't want to take that away from him. He absolutely was winning in a dominant fashion. But it's not going to, like, Dana White and Sean Shelby aren't going back to their office just singing your praises about, oh my God, the fights we can put on with Alexander Rakic next. So I think in that sense, he did himself a little bit of a disservice. He moves up the rankings. There's some interesting fights ahead for him. In the post-fight, he asked for Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz as the winner to fight for the title. There is no way in hell Dana White's giving him a title shot after that. He doesn't have the name value still. He didn't get a viral KO or viral TKO, win that then can be plastered all over promotions and or on the internet. He needs another fight. Thiago Santos and Glover Teixeira are going to lock horns. That's most likely, you could say he fights the winner of that fight, and the winner of that would then get a title shot. You could make an argument, too, that he fights Yuri. Now, I'm going to butcher this last name, Prochazka. You could make an argument that he fights Yuri Prochazka. You put that fight, you put them on, that's going to do numbers, I'm sure, in Europe. They both have a huge fanfare from each of their respected home countries. That's a really exciting matchup, too. A win over Yuri Prochazka in impressive fashion, that puts him up another, into the title contention as well. Where do you go for Anthony Smith? It's kind of a bummer because I really like Lionheart. He's a really good guy. He's really tough. I think he'll be back strong. Like, he didn't take a ton of damage. It's not like he's so beat up that he's going to walk away from this and say, dang, I can't fight for like 8 months or 9 months unless he's got an injury I don't know about. For him and anyone he fights, it's going to be tough. I mean, Nikita Krylov's going to be looking for a fight. Volkan Ozdemir is going to be looking for a fight. You got Johnny Walker in there. Misha Serkinov is coming off of a win versus Jimmy Crute. Actually, I like that fight. Misha Serkinov and Anthony Smith is maybe a very good fight to make. Loser is out of the top 10, and winner continues to hang out in the top 10. It's interesting. Yeah, like that division has got a ton of talent, but it doesn't have a ton of star power. And how many people how many of your friends are going to be talking about Dominic Reyes versus Jan Blachowicz as a title? Most people are going to think, well, wait, isn't that John Jones' division? Even if John Jones moves to heavyweight, right? The fanfare will follow him there. And Reyes and Blachowicz are unbelievable fighters, extremely talented. Dominic Reyes, you could make an argument that he's John Jones' toughest fight, and you wouldn't be wrong. They just don't have enough momentum behind them to really make them a marketable champion. And maybe it's, Dominic Reyes needs to go on a run where he knocks off a Blachowicz and then a Santos and then a Rakic and then a Prochazka and so forth. And, goes on that run of, 3 or 4 in a row before, he becomes a big star, if he ever does. Moving into the co-main, we had Robbie Lawler and Neil Magny. Robbie Lawler still fighting after years. I don't know how that guy doesn't have CTE or isn't going to have major brain damage, and I don't mean to make light of that at all. I sincerely wonder, how do you take these beatings? Like, if you think of the wars he had with Rory McDonald and all these top guys and just the knockouts he's taken, and how do you keep fighting after that? He's a different breed. He's cut from a different cloth, and he's hands down one of the toughest humans on planet Earth, and maybe one of the toughest humans to walk the planet, ever. But Neil Magny, what can you say? The guy just keeps on winning. It's like no matter who they throw at him, he just keeps on winning. He did lose to Santiago Ponzinibbio, but he keeps just putting together top wins. He's extremely talented. He's always in good shape. I don't think he even breathes heavy by the end of every fight you see him. He looks like could just go for a run or hop on a bike. He really showed in this fight his strength, his clinch work up against the cage, his ground control and grappling is very elite. He's only really been exposed on the ground by some really, really high level jiu-jitsu guys like Demian Maia. Going forward for Magny, again, like he's not a super marketable guy. He's a little boring. His style is a little boring. Even and I consider myself a hardcore MMA fan. I'm not a professional fighter, and I'm not a coach, and I'm not an analyst that gets paid to do this, but I do consider myself to be like a very passionate and knowledgeable fan. And it's hard for me to get behind the idea that Magny is going to be like marketable in the sense of big main events. He doesn't have the Anthony Pettis or Wonderboy Thompson or Tyron Woodley, like explosive kind of edge of your seat, what's going to happen, type of outcomes to his fights. He's elite. He out grapples guys. He outworks them. Excellent wrestling, excellent jiu-jitsu. His striking looked really good. He was very light on his feet. You can tell Elevation Fight Team is unbelievable, and you can see the work he does. And I'm sure with Trevor Whitman, just his jab looked very good. But from here, maybe he gets a fight, like a Michael Chiesa. I know Jeff Neal is chomping at the bit. I think that's a great fight. Jeff Neal is super tough. But again, how many people are tuning into Magny Neal and going, dang, that's a fight I can't miss. I'm going to move plans around with my wife or my girlfriend to catch. I absolutely will watch Magny versus Neal, but it's not something that you're going to, cancel your plans to go see, maybe no one has plans anyway in COVID, and the fall is going to get second wave bullshit, but you get what I'm saying. Neil Magny, I would love to see up against a guy like Vincente Luque, Michael Chiesa. Those would be excellent fights. Those would be very tough for him to, because just the grappling and toughness of each guy would be really interesting and pose some really big challenges. Magny might just work himself right into that top six or just outside, and then he'll be stuck in the lineup of really talented guys who just don't get a title shot. Nobody's getting a title shot before, below 5 or 6 before Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards can't get a title shot. So fuck. I mean, we'll see what happens in welterweight moving forward especially after Woodley and Covington go at it coming up here in September, which is a fantastic fight, and that's a fight that has big money implications and has some star power. God, with everything that is happening right now in the United States and actually around the world with regards to race, Black Lives Matter, and then you have the election coming up in November, to have Colby Covington against Tyron Woodley, and Covington has created this heel persona for himself that is just it is so over the top that even though you know it's bullshit and fake, it's so polarizing. I don't know how, if any Trump MMA fans believe Colby Covington, and maybe they do. Maybe they just like the fact that he's kind of trolling the progressive left or the regressive left, depending on your perspective. But that fight with Tyron Woodley is going to have, I could see that getting very heated back and forth in the interviews, in the lead up press conferences, and that'll start to polarize, go viral, and draw in huge droves of fans that otherwise may not give a fuck about MMA, but just want to see Colby Covington's head get clean off. Problem is, he's extremely tough. Even Kamaru Usman, who put a beating on him, couldn't put him away, right? So, correct me if I'm wrong, did put him away, but it took almost the entire fight to do so. Tyron Woodley is older now. He lost that decision to Gilbert Burns. He lost his title to Kamaru Usman. And I could see Colby Covington just being too much for him in the pace that he sets, as I talked about in the last video. The rest of the card was kind of underwhelming. There were some interesting performances. I thought Impa Kasanganay versus Maki Patolo was a great fight. Impa Kasanganay has only been fighting professionally for, I think, like not even 2 years. Only started MMA. Yeah, 2019. So only started MMA apparently in 2017. Damn, guy picks it up quick. Is an unbelievable athlete. He really showed. Maki Patolo is a good fighter, but he showed that he is able to eat shots, keep his composure, and he really poses a threat on the feet and up against the cage because he's just so damn strong with his, and as he improves with his wrestling and his clinch work and his understanding of range and distance and timing, he'll climb up the rankings. He's a good young fighter. Ricardo Llamas, I think he edged out that decision. Bill Algeo, was up for the task. Llamas just proved to be a little too savvy of a veteran, had too many tricks up his sleeve. I've seen it all. Bill Algeo had a few moments, but nothing that I haven't seen fighting some of the best guys in the world. All right, moving on to next week's fight card. Overeem versus Augusto Sakai. That should be an exciting main event. Overeem's always fun to watch. Augusto Sakai has, I think he's undefeated in the UFC. Yeah. So that's gonna be a big test for Alistair, but Alistair's always game. Still got some fight left in him. I'm gonna say, if I had to make a prediction on this one, Augusto Sakai could edge out a decision, but I wouldn't be opposed to betting on Overeem for a TKO in the first or even second round, because he's still extremely dangerous, and we saw what he did to Walt Harris in the second round in his last fight. So that's going to be my big prediction for that main event. OSP, Alonzo Menefield, is a great fight. I think it was it OSP, or one of them had coronavirus, so the fight got moved to this card. OSP, always getting those Von Flue chokes. They might have to change that to the OSP choke. Yeah, he wins one, he loses one, wins, loses, but he's fighting top guys. So it's going to be a huge test for Alonzo Menefield to prove if he belongs up there. I think this is, for me, I think OSP will be able to just show that he's a little more experienced and elite in essentially all areas of the fight. Michel Pierre versus Zalim Imadaev. Michel Pierre is hilarious. He's that guy who came out just guns blazing. He does every fight against Tristan Connolly. Tristan Connolly, kid from Canada, just kind of shelled up, kept a high guard, weathered the storm, and then said, hey, bro, this is MMA, not capoeira. Cool story. You weigh 40 pounds more than me, and I'm going to use wrestling 101 to just wear you down, and edged out the win there. That was an unbelievable win for Tristan Connolly. But Michel Pierre, he lost to Diego Sanchez, but he was winning that fight. He got disqualified for an illegal knee against Zalim Imadaev. I don't know much about Imadaev. He's Russian. He lost to Max Griffin and Danny Roberts. So he's 0-2 in the UFC. Fuck it. Go with Michel Pereira via spinning tornado kick in the first 9 seconds. That's going to be my prediction for that fight. Should be fun. So there's a little more, in my opinion, a little more excitement in next week's card to look forward to. All right, I think that does it for me. If you guys got any comments or any predictions or any beef with what I said, let me know in the comments. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe. I'm going to try and do a fight podcast every weekend if I can. And yeah, that's it for me. Take care.